Speaking of the net,
what a segue! What a segue!
Let's move over to Theater 2.
He's our professional.
Yeah, right. So Theater 2, we have The Net, starring from 1995 as well, when the internet became a big thing. Apparently, it's like we just have to make movies about the internet. It's hot stuff right now.
It's the latest
it probably
horror.
won't last.
It's the latest area in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Starring Sandra Bullock, Jeremy Northam, and Dennis Miller. Directed by Irwin Winkler.
I think that's Lurwin.
It's Lurwin.
I think it's Lorin.
Lurwin Winkier.
Yep.
Winkler. All right, hit us with a trailer, Murphy.
All right.
Oops, I'll get rid of that. There you go.
We all live in the age of information.
We're sitting on the most perfect beach in the world, and all we can think about is where
can I hook up my bottom?
Every trace of our existence is computerized.
They need a payphone.
Funniest thing about this is it came out the same year as Hackers. These two people saw the internet in two ways of doing it.
But this movie also features prominent use of cell phones, which even movies now struggle with.
Angela Bennett was just
I don't know if they'll show it in the trailer.
They're going to show the whole movie in this trailer.
Oh yeah, the whole movie. It's right here.
What is this?
She never should have seen.
I plugged it in and I'm staring at the personal medical files of the Undersecretary of Defense, Michael Bergstrom.
Someone's tapped into the system.
How long would it take to track?
Mr. Bergstrom.
Depends on how long it
Yeah,
stays online.
killed himself because he thought people would think he was gay.
Want to do anything?
Great story there.
Than she could ever imagine.
They hacked into computers and they caused this chaos. Wall Street,
The market panicked as
1995.
the Department of Water and Power in Atlanta, LAX.
We've lost radar contact.
Now it's time to go.
Like, oh yeah, like the trailer should have been over. Why is it still going?
We can make it reality.
They got to wrap up the plot.
According to the Department of Motor Vehicles, you're Ruth Marks. They screwed with my information and my fingerprints. I don't understand. Why me?
Infiltrating her life.
In it, there's identity theft. Let's go 2 more minutes.
The internet is all about identity theft. Yeah, Dennis Miller's character dies. Let's show that the trailer.
Ruth Marks on federal charges.
I am Angela Bennett.
Just give us the disc and we'll give you your life back.
She has the evidence.
She's copied the disc.
This should have me on the list.
The disc. Is this actually a disc-themed episode of your podcast?
Yeah, it was the 90s when the world was either saved or destroyed by a floppy disk.
By a floppy disk.
Is caught.
A 2-megabyte text file would destroy the world.
A film by Irwin Winkler.
Lorin Winkler, I believe.
I was wrong.
Good effort. Good effort.
Wow. Wow.
So,
man.
so coming into this, I thought this one was gonna be my favorite movie, and
I don't
I
know
gotta
how
say it was my
wasn't your
least favorite.
movie.
It was my least favorite of all of them.
What?
I will
tried
say
to watch it twice. It was boring me to tears.
I had a
It was
hard time
boring.
watching this, but I'll tell you why. You know how like sometimes when you're growing up and you own like 6 movies and it's just kind of 6 random movies, and so you watch one of those
The
movies.
Net?
My wife owned the net, and I was watching it, and she was saying every line of dialogue
Nice.
while I was watching it, because she's like, Kyle, I've watched this movie 200 times.
Oh my god.
And I'm like writing notes. She's like, are you writing this down? Are you writing that down? I'm like, stop it.
Oh,
I did like half an hour in, I didn't make her be quiet because she wouldn't
Just
stop
invite her
quoting
onto
it
the
and just
episode and
saying
talk
every
about
single
it.
thing that was happening.
Did she
was-
actually like it, or just like it was because it was one of 6?
No, I think it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's like you own 6 movies on VHS, and when you're bored and you don't have cable TV, you're like, well, I'll watch The Net again, I guess.
Watch Curly Suit with Jim Belushi.
Yeah, well, it's like The Ghost in the Darkness. Like I watched that movie so many times, like just because.
I love The Ghost in the Darkness. I'm probably
like-
going to feature it on this podcast.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Right, The Net.
Yeah, so pipe up
I
with any
guess-
of your written down morsels
Oh,
too,
dude,
KH.
dude, I got 4 pages of notes on The Net. We can.
Oh my god! Well,
Should I just interject as they come up?
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Merry
That's the
Christmas,
best way.
Kyle.
Yeah, crispies, crumblies with Kyle.
Crumblies with
Yeah,
Kyle.
okay, just my general thoughts on this film. I was gonna go. I was like, this is gonna be boring. And after watching Hackers, I was like, oh, this is refreshing. It's actually like legitimate, like what hacking is. And I found it interesting how she was like doing like the home delivery with FedEx, booking her flight, basically all the things that we pretty much take for granted nowadays.
Yeah.
She was like cutting edge and doing it with her and Cyber Bob and them on her like home computer. And I quickly like fell into like, oh, this is actually a really entertaining thriller of a movie, and I was fucking on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. So yeah,
That's what continues on this podcast. Every movie hits me and Murphy completely different.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised you didn't like this movie. The Net.
No, man, I found it boring.
It's you know, it was very like
kind of formulaic.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you if you take out the internet and replace it with literally anything else, it's like
anything.
It's just it's like it's not.
It just feels like one of those novels you get to like get through a plane ride or something.
It's done well, man. Just
it's
the
a plane
shock
movie.
of her like having to like discover her home was gone and shit. Like she plays it well. It's not. She doesn't play.
I love Sandra Bullock too, and this movie just did not do it for me. Gotta say.
All right, so The Net is a 1995 cyber.
Oh, hold on. One thing I want to say.
He's got a cell phone. He's got a cell phone.
One thing I found interesting between this and Hackers, how they came out the same year, because Hackers is a movie about individuals taking down larger entities, governments, corporations, using hacking, whereas this movie is the opposite. It's about governments and organizations taking down individuals. So I find it fascinating they came out the same year.
But
and these
why? Why was this movie? That's what I can't remember.
Why?
Well, what is this?
Well, I did never figure that
out. So The Net is a 1995 cyber thriller film directed by Irwin Winkler in Washington, D.C. It is the location. It starts with U.S. Washington. Sorry, all right. We're in Washington, D.C., the United States of America, under Secretary of Defense Michael Bergstrom, who we're introduced to, played by Ken Howard. This scene is the cold open of the film, and quickly, well, I guess we're just gonna get into it because apparently this is Andrew and Kyle's scene that holds up the most.
Fine. Scene, and then it just gets boring, and they fall asleep.
Bit of a nightmare day.
Oh, you know what? I might have said opening scene, but I didn't mean this scene.
You bet.
Oh. Did you mean this scene, Chow?
Yeah, I meant this scene because it sets the tone for the whole movie.
It does. Imagine your last meal being a pear.
Yeah, no, it's like he eats a pear.
I love pears.
Of a snub-nosed
That's probably why he killed himself. Because pears is terrible.
You know what?
Nothing.
I'm gonna
this is mealy pear.
I'm gonna decide the rest of my life based on this one pear.
Buying pears at
you know what? I've had some bad pears that have made me want to end myself.
Do you like? Or do you guys like a soft pear, or do you like a firm pear?
I prefer
soft,
sort of in between.
Soft, of course.
Just almost
firm pear doesn't even taste like anything.
Yeah.
Hard pear make your gums bleed.
I like a medium. I like a medium
once
pear.
you insert the razor blades.
I like a medium pear that doesn't. I don't want my hands to get wet when I'm eating my pear. You know what I mean? If it's too soft, wet hands, no good.
What? You just gotta make that Slurpee noise. I know you
No,
like making
can't do it. Can't do it. Can't eat it. Can't eat a Slurpee pear. Can't do it.
So yeah, Michael Bergstrom commits suicide after being informed that he has tested positive for the old HIV. This film stars Sandra Bullock as Angela Bennett, a computer systems analyst who lives a solitary life in Venice, Los Angeles. Angela works for Cathedral Software, a company based in San Francisco, and telecommunicates to work.
So can I? This is actually my favorite scene, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I think the guy on the phone says her name about 7 times, and then every sentence he's like, "That's not how it works, Angela." He's like, "Let me tell you something, Angela." And then she orders the pizza, and it's like Angela Bennett, and she's booking her flights, Angela Bennett, and on her fridge with little magnets, she has spelled out Angela. It literally takes like the width of the fridge is ANG, and then the next line is ELA on her fridge with magnets, because the movie wants you to know her name is Angela.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important. Like they had to add all that. They had to add all that in because people watched this movie and thought her name was Ruth. They're like, no, we want to make sure you know her name is Angela. And I just thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever. Because I'm like, how many times do they have to say her name in this opening scene?
For every time they say Angela Bennett in the opening scene,
yeah, just get hammered in the first 6 minutes of this movie.
So Angela, she's her only real life interactions.
Wait, what was her name again?
Angela Bennett. Her only real life interactions are with the FedEx delivery driver and her mother, who is not Angela Bennett, but her mother, Aunt Bennett. I don't think they actually said her name. Her mother's institutionalized due to her Alzheimer's disease, which plays into a later scene that I thought stood out. And Angela's life ultimately changes dramatically when she receives a floppy disk from her coworker Dale, played by the legendary Ray McKinnon. He, sends over this Mozart's ghost disc, and it contains
a killer riff.
Backdoor named Pi that allows access to a popular computer security system called Gatekeeper, sold by Greg Microsystems, which is nothing to do with Microsoft. A software company led by CEO Jeff Gregg, played by Gerald Burns, who is at any point in this film is only ever on TV. He's never actually on screen.
Well, they filmed all his scenes in the one spot outside their building in 4 hours, and because anytime he's being interviewed, it's in the exact same spot too, even though there are different times.
Oh, glossy looks. Dale and Angela agree to meet, but Dale's private aircraft decides to crash into a tower, and he dies. He doesn't really decide to crash into a tower. He's just directly.
Why you don't let your planes make your decisions for you?
Well, I don't know how this guy wasn't paying attention to one, what's in front of him, and why he's apparently flying entirely by his own, devices. But the one thing I did notice is
he was horny for Angela Bennett.
There's a fireball. They cut back
you know what he was
the
doing.
Cockpit where there's no fire, and then they cut back to a
nothing,
giant fireball.
Because that's just an editing error.
No, it's good.
Which there are some others in this movie too.
There's a few of those. Dale's private aircraft crashes in the tower and he dies. Angela then, because she had a vacation all set up, she gets the news that Dale's dead from her coworker, and she's not devastated by this at all.
No, she's not upset at all. She literally couldn't be bothered.
I gotta catch a flight. Have you been to fucking LAX, man? That shit is a pain in the ass. She gets there and all of her flights are delayed or canceled or fucking hijacked.
I saw that too. There's two of them that are
hijacked.
There's two that are hijacked.
Yeah. That's
I like
crazy.
how one and two of them say missing.
Yeah, I can't believe that's a real label. Hijack.
I feel like that's a whole thing. Hey,
does what any person who's getting a flight that knows their flights are hijacked or canceled or whatever, just hang out in the
more than 50% of the planes on the board are missing or hijacked.
Well, just
leaving that airport.
Just that one little they highlighted there.
I'm sure the rest of them are fine.
Yeah, the rest are fine. So we get a little foreshadowing of our main villain, Jack Devlin.
That is quite the neck.
Angela heads on to a vacation to Cozumel, Mexico. She's reading a book here, Love in the Time of Cholera.
I had a super crush on Sandra Bullock for my entire life, and I still didn't like this movie.
Wow. I don't get it. This is such a good movie. She's looking fine as all hell on this beach scene. I'm just gonna let this thumbnail refresh, so if anybody catches the live stream, they might have a reason to clickbait. Okay, we're good. Where she meets a charming Englishman named Jack Devlin, played by Jeremy Nordham. This is his American debut for films. He decides, let me seduce you by taking you on my company boat, which is half a yacht, practically.
Yeah, so he orders the Gibson too. So there's the Gibson connection between the net and hackers. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I almost forgot he did order the Gibson. But yeah, they're having a nice, lovely dinner and stuff. And while they're walking the beach, Angela is mugged, which Devlin chases after because he paid that local mugger to get the magical green floppy disk that could end the world or save the world. He then, once he gets the floppy disk, the mugger's like,
Kind of like the internet.
You know, I get the mucho dinero now, and he gets mucho boleto to the chest.
He didn't deserve that.
He didn't deserve that. No, he was just a simple guy trying to do a job, probably feed his family, and now he's eating sand. Devlin cuts his hand, you know, make it look like he got mugged. Takes her back to the boat, and is this? No, you changed your scene, Davan. You were gonna pick this scene.
I changed my scene. Now keep going.
Yeah, where basically she finds the gun. This was the one he chose.
Well, I was just gonna highlight the scene because that's when the movie like starts basically, and I was already bored with this movie, and like now it starts, and like, but I do find like those scenes are kind of sort of engaging in a movie, like that scene where like some two characters who've been spending time together, one realizes the betrayal of the other before that character makes their betrayal noticed. So,
well, Devlin's loading up the silence pistol. He's ready to put one into Angela, and she's ready to get one put in her. So she kisses Devlin, and he puts one in her.
There's a part a little bit before that where she says to him "nice hardware," and I wrote that down. I put hardware in quotes. I'm like, was that intentional? Because she
he was like nice software.
Yeah, she says nice.
So yeah,
nice.
He still goes to follow through on killing her, but she decides to put on his coat where she finds the pistol that she just lets him grab.
Well, it's because she already she previously alluded to her Colorado upbringing and being around guns, right? She's like she's like Lauren Boebert from 1995.
Maybe Lauren Bennett. Maybe family lineage. But yeah, no, he takes the gun and immediately points it at her, pulls the trigger, and there's nothing. She's like, "Oh, are you looking for this clip?" Which is a mag, lady. That is a mag, not a clip. I'll have you know. She tosses that in the ocean and proceeds to burn him with a cigarette and whack him with a fucking champagne bottle, knocked out and escape on the boat. As she's trying to escape on the dinghy boat, she basically crashes into some rocks and passes
like 30 feet away from the boat. Let's
just like sees the rocks, is like, you know what? I should turn. No, I'm just gonna gun it.
No.
This is gonna be good time. Wham!
Just straight into the rocks.
Collides with those rocks, goes flying, as you can see her in the center screen here.
I never understand how people like survive that kind of thing. Like if you get knocked out in the water, you're basically drowning.
Oh, it's bullshit. And who finds her? Like who finds her, and how long until she's found? Like, a fisherman found her.
It's like the Majestic, which we also featured on this podcast. It's just when you get knocked out in water, somebody finds you on a beach later. That's a guarantee.
Yep,
somebody will find you on a beach.
Like when you're knocked out, do you not need to breathe? Is that something I don't know about being knocked out?
No, you don't need to breathe because when that person finds you on the beach,
with your mouth closed, you're good in the water.
There's always still the water in your lungs, so that when they find you and go, "Hey there," and sit you up, you can cough out water.
If you get knocked out and you're face up with your mouth closed in the water, you're perfectly fine.
This is science.
Speaking of science, this doctor's smoking a cigarette in this Mexican hospital that she
Mexico, you can do what you want.
She's been in for 3 days. She also finds out that her disc was destroyed in the watery accident, but she's got a business card with a password on it potentially.
To be clear though, too, the disc was destroyed by the sun, is what he says, implying that the disc was above the water
on the beach,
in the sun,
on the beach. They found her,
and they picked it up for her.
Yes.
You left your disc on the beach, but we got it
because somehow, just
that's what's important.
Like carrying something. Like, how much does a floppy disk weigh? What are the odds of it and her washing up on shore in the same location? And someone being like, "Oh, this is important. Let's take this with us when we take her to the hospital."
This very weathered floppy disk must belong to this unconscious lady, and it must.
So this unconscious lady, Angela Bennett, if you guys didn't know who this was, She's going to find out quickly when she goes back to her hotel that she has checked out. She checked out while she was checked out. And amongst that chaos, she also finds out that there is a border lady out of nowhere that finds her out of nowhere and is like, here, sign these papers. You're Ruth Marks, right? You're Ruth Marks? You're Ruth Marks, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're Ruth Marks. Okay, cool. You're Ruth Marks. She signs that paper, and then she goes back.
But I
home
thought
to
she
find
was
out-
Angela Bennett.
Yeah, she's not. She has no proof
What?
that she's Angela Bennett. She's lost all of her things, so she's gonna go with Ruth Marks because she's gonna be stuck in Mexico if she doesn't take this one and only opportunity to get back into America with this new ID and stuff. Somehow she gets through the border and gets back home to find that her house has been sold within the week.
They also give her
time,
like
which
the
is
name of the most prominent communist ever to
Ruth
get back in the
Marks.
United States with. Yeah,
I
they
didn't
might as
catch
well
that.
just
Good
like
catch.
named her like like Fidel Stalin or something like.
Yeah, but it's not the the identity they give her. I mean, spoilers for later in the movie, and if you're paying attention, is the name of the woman who assumes her identity.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was funny
Face-off
too.
situation, if you will.
Yeah. And so, like, I
Like,
felt really
that
bad for
girl-
that other woman because
yeah.
they added all this shit to Ruth Marx's like criminal record. Like, that was that other criminal woman who was only doing like minor crimes. Now you've added a bunch of shit to her that she didn't
It's
do.
funny though that your job in this whole like caper is be the lady who answers the phone if this woman calls herself.
Yeah.
You just answer the phone as her. That's your job. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So yeah, Ruth, or sorry, not Ruth, Angela
Oh my
Bennett
God.
is back at her.
It even full humor.
Yeah, well, I know it's very
is a
tricky.
great
I don't know if
movie.
you guys were paying attention to the movie. It's the seed, like, come on. So Angela Ruth Bennett Marks, she finds out her home's been sold to her dismay. Which one of the scenes when she like walks in and she's like, like that kind of fucked with me. I was like, oh man, that would break my brain to just walk into the house I expect and everything's gone. So yeah, she's assigned to be Ruth Marks. Devlin has entered an arrest record for Ruth, which includes prostitution and drug dealing and all sorts of surprising goodies that Angela Bennett has no actual priors to, but you know, petty larceny, narcotics, parole, prostitution twice, prostitution 3 times actually.
So prostitution
Once, twice,
before
3
she
times
was
a lady.
before she was 20, when she was 19 years old.
Yeah.
That's a bit old, actually.
Yeah, she sees that she's gonna get arrested by the cops, so she bails out. She pulls a bait and switch with the old phone, giving it to an old guy and calling her ex-flame, played by Dennis
Miller.
Former lover and psychiatrist
He was
Alan Champion.
terrible in this movie, by the way.
He was the worst.
This is not the kind of role you cast Dennis Miller as. I know he was kind of hot in 1995, but he was just awful.
He was he felt very out of place.
Speaking of 1995,
especially in like the dramatic stuff, like later, and he's like dying. In the
Well,
hospital.
he gives he just
come closer.
Well, and it's like
what?
Like, how intentional is it that he's giving off like creepy vibes like half the time?
I don't know.
Like he's like 25% like caring, 50% creepy vibes, and like 25% like someone else. But it's like, what? Like, yeah, like even just like that, like just that right there, because he's like, hey, we could make a Gibson in this scene. But, like, he just looks not like somebody you'd want to have helping
like her body
you.
language does not read. I'm down with this, and he's just
No,
like, we're gonna get drunk and laid. That's why you called, yeah. It's like, no, Dennis, no, we're not. Speaking of callbacks and old 90s callbacks, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when she hands the phone off to this old guy and he pulls up, he's like, clever girl. That's a whole tip of the hat to Jurassic Park. So yeah, Angela eventually logs into Bethesda Naval Hospital's computer and learns that under security of defense... What a fucking weird title. Under Security of Defense, Bergstrom. Like, is that a real title? Who had opposed gatekeepers' use by the federal government, was misdiagnosed with HIV. That's right, he was negative, misdiagnosed. Was not infected, so he, took a silver laxative for no reason.
In the middle
She
of
Are you
Paris.
saying there's
eventually,
gaps in the American healthcare system? Because if that's what you're saying, I won't have it.
there's no proof of that whatsoever at all.
Right.
So yeah, Angela eventually reaches out to her old cyber buddies to find out a little more about Praetorian, and the Backdoor Pie is connected to Praetorians, a notorious group of cyber terrorists who are linked to recent computer failures. Don't mess with them, as Cyber Bob is telling her.
Cyber Bob.
He's a good guy, that Cyber
Yeah,
Bob. You know that?
Cyberbob. We never get to see
Too
that.
bad.
We all
we
need a
never
Cyber Bob
see.
in our lives.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
Angela and Cyber Bob are supposed to meet up at the pier for like 7 p.m., but Cyber Bob apparently gets intercepted by Devlin at some point.
Yeah, he goes to because Cyberbob has his like online avatar like as a little sticker by his like buzzer at his apartment building.
Angela eventually manages to escape Devlin after attempting to meet with Cyber Bob, and who was revealed to be a contract killer for the cyber terrorists. Surprise, surprise. Like, that wasn't obvious by this point. But the Praetorians, they find out that Alan Champion is helping her, and they ultimately get to Champion by fucking with his pharmacy and hospital computer records. He basically goes into a penicillin-induced coma, where they're like, "Oh, he'll be okay. We'll take care of him," and they don't. At the end of the point of the matter is they don't take care of him at all. Dennis Miller dies, and this is what leads to Davan's favorite scene of the film, actually.
It's hard to pick a favorite scene in a movie that didn't really have any good
I don't
scenes.
understand. You said he was gonna be fine. He was fine.
I know I did. I'm
Tried
sorry.
everything.
The insulin caused
No,
his
no,
blood
it's
pressure.
penicillin. He was on penicillin.
Worst
No,
hospital
Dr.
ever.
Champion was being held for the treatment of diabetes.
No,
He went into
no,
insulin
Literally
no.
said penicillin earlier,
No, he
lady,
was not
like
a diabetic.
2 days ago.
He
maybe.
wasn't diabetic. No, he wasn't.
He's like, you know what? Fuck the internet. Like, that was just like this. He's like, I've had enough of this
Fair
internet.
Enough with your internet.
Fair enough,
records.
internet.
And that's
Someone's
the
gonna have to
symbolism
clean that
there.
up.
She smashed the screen. Yeah, well, not her.
Yeah, that was like the most COD lobby scene of the whole movie right there. She smashed her smashed the screen.
But yeah.
So Angela is ultimately forced to steal a car.
Basically, that was my favorite scene because they killed Dennis Miller.
Harsh. I mean, it was also my favorite scene because they killed Dennis Miller, but harsh. So yeah, Angela ultimately steals a car, and she's forced to steal a car and flee from the LAPD. But she's chased and arrested by California
It's not
Highway
the Secret
Patrol.
Service. They're supposed to
Nope.
deal with this type of thing.
It turns out California Highway Patrol is more effective than the Secret Service at they capture Angela Martha Rooks Bennett and put her in jail. While in jail waiting for trial, she's on false charges.
Mugshot.
That's a great mugshot, yeah. While she's waiting for her false charges, a man... Oh, actually...
This
before we get
mugshots
to
and
that,
sexy mugshot guy. Remember him?
This was leading to my favorite scene of the film, right here, actually. It had the most, like, emotional weight to it. Is her
It's
trying
me.
to be like, everyone's dying around
How
me.
you doing? You doing
Nobody
okay?
believes who I am. I can't find my FedEx guy to tell them
how's
who
that
I
new
am.
nurse treating
Mom, you've got Alzheimer's. You remember me, right, Mom? You remember me, Mom?
Mom,
Sure do, Ruthie.
it's Angela. Mom, listen. I need you to do something.
This is
for
not
me.
Sandra Bullock's
there's
best
a lady
performance
here
in a
that I
movie
need
either,
for
I'll tell you that much.
What? This
She's
was
gonna get on
good.
the phone, and I need for you to tell her that she's that on me, okay? Because she doesn't believe me.
Here, Davan, can't you tell?
Can you tell her that?
Like it's one of those cases like this scene, like yeah, I get it. It kind of
Don't-
maybe
no.
drives home her isolation, but sometimes it's hard to hit those emotions when you're not feeding off somebody else, right? I don't know if they had Dennis Miller cracking jokes on the other side of the phone there to try to help out with the mood or not.
Yeah, so that was my favorite scene. I felt, yeah, as you said, it really drove home the stress that she's under. She's at her breaking point at this point, you know, and she's regaled to being a prisoner until, you know, she's not anymore. Ben from the FBI, who's a friend of Champion's, has pulled her out, bailing her out of jail, which she's, you know, thankful for. But not 5 minutes later, while driving,
This guy has the most untrustworthy mustache of all time.
It's pretty untrustworthy. Ben is ultimately an imposter. He's not an FBI agent, or he could be. So she doesn't, you know, play any. She doesn't play any games. She pulls the wheel and gets his vehicle to crash directly in to
Devlin's vehicle.
Devlin's car. Of all vehicles, of all places.
But look, all right.
into his car.
If you look at this screen grab you have right here, does this look like the same place that the scene in Hackers where they did the exchange took place?
Oh yeah, you can see down the road with the smoke and stuff. Yeah.
With like, and
The road isn't cobblestone enough.
Yeah, it's not cobbly enough here, but it has the tracks in it though, the cable car tracks, the
They were
train
just
tracks.
sharing sets the whole time they were producing these.
This is what every street looked like in 1995. Actually,
Yeah,
that's
that's
why.
it. Every city had a dark street with train tracks.
Wouldn't it be funny if you could just see Dade Murphy in the back, just looking upset with himself?
They literally filmed it on the same day.
Same time, yeah. Couldn't share
yeah,
sets.
they
No,
said
we'll
that
both film.
When I was writing it, it's like she kills the imposter with his own gun, but I was reviewing the scene. She doesn't. She just crashes the car and he ends up dying.
Well, I mean, he's knocked unconscious. I don't know if it's explicitly that he dies, but he gets knocked.
My God, you gotta type quieter there, KH. That is
sorry,
like really
sorry.
coming through on your microphone. No worries.
Cracking away over there.
Cracky.
Such an angry typer.
Yeah,
God,
or Angela
Dade
is running
Murphy.
from Devlin, and he gets him caught up on a bridge, and she basically hitchhikes her way to the cathedral's office in San Francisco. After she finds some time to break away in a hotel, a woman that has really no identification, no ID, no.
How did she get in
cards,
there?
No money.
Who let her
It's a
in?
motel, not a hotel.
I mean, does she have money though? Like, you gotta at least put a deposit down. Like, where's she getting the money?
She must have little pocket money, doesn't she? No, no pocket money.
Maybe.
She's been on the run this whole time.
Did Alan give her some money? Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, this is just after she got out of jail.
Oh, yeah.
Oh right.
Well, they have to give her belongings back once they let her out.
Do they?
So yeah, she's all over the news. She breaks back into Cathedral's office in San Francisco, where she does a little almost Matrix-esque walking through and avoiding, you know, agents and stuff. Heads back to the desk where she finds her doppelganger, Ruth Angela Bennett Marks, at the phone.
She's smart, at least. Just like the only lead you have is like this lady answers the phone as you every time you call her, so if you can get to her, that's a start.
Yeah, and she's in the office, so she's like, "Oh, I found her. Angel's nearby. She's told to be immediately killed." So Ruth Angela Bennett Marks, you know, is looking around for Angela Ruth Marks Bennett. Angela Ruth Marks Bennett calls in the fire tower and shuts the whole place down. A big fire alarm. They all go about their business. While that's happening, she's uncovering the plot by Greg Microsystems to sell gatekeeper to organizations that have been sabotaged by the Praetorians. Angela downloads another 3.5-inch disc and escapes just as the imposter realizes her presence.
Greg Jeff.
This scene was ridiculous. I don't know why this fireman would like take his stuff off so she could
Toss
talk
it
to
there.
the man.
Like, why is he popping?
Heat rises.
Why is he popping a random ceiling tile?
Yeah, like is the water valve not on? Do you got to turn it with hand pump?
I know the button for the fire alarm's up here
She
somewhere.
steals a hitman style, fire department gear and heads out. After Angela downs the evidence, back to Oregon film. Devlin and the Ruth Angela Bennett Marks imposter. This is getting very.
Losing yourself, Murphy.
Yeah, just yeah.
Just pick one.
They decided to chase her down to the convention center, which I don't know if you guys have ever been to like a crazy large convention center like this, but this would take hours to find somebody if you don't know where you're looking for them. If
Well,
somebody
same thing when
lost.
I mean, you kind of glossed over the like fairground thing or carnival, whatever, too. Like he finds her in there, like
the
no problem
merry-go-round.
too. Yeah, it's like
Well,
just
no, they didn't. He didn't find her there, no problem. Okay, so what happened there is she was got to meet Cyber Bob at the pier for 7
yeah,
p.m.,
okay,
but they
sure, I
interrupted her
guess.
message, so he cut her off, and
Yeah,
that's really
fair,
what happened
okay.
there. But yeah, so she escapes to the convention center, where she proceeds to implement. One breaks the news to all the departments, adds attachments and proof, and then she goes to destroy using the Fleet 3.5 disk all the data and stuff like that. She puts in the red one where it's a virus, and she convinces Devlin to press escape, causing the virus to destroy all the information. While that's happening, she decides to run away.
No, my information.
Not nuclear and coal. Oh no, what will we ever do with these without these?
What's the other thing? What's the other thing?
Corrugation? It's about cardboard.
Corrugation.
So yeah, Devlin releases the virus in Greg's mainframe, destroying Gatekeeper and undoing the erasing of her identity, which I don't know how that works, but sure. Apparently, they just hit /Z on all of their deleting of her identity, and she's recovered that. While that's happening, there's a whole fight scene on the catwalk where, there's a scene where Devlin shoots the imposter Ruth Marks, and he chases Angela onto the catwalk, where basically, she plays hide and go seek and fucking cracks him with a fire hydrant.
They foreshadowed it in the movie. She's good at hitting people in the head with large cylindrical objects, so she does it again.
And also, we foreshadowed it with the fireman with no head. You don't see his head, and then she uses a fire hydrant to crack somebody in the head.
You think, oh wow. So a firefighter with no head, and then a fire extinguisher making head contact.
Yes.
You think that was deliberate? That's your takeaway from this movie?
I think that's the smartest thing they put in this movie.
But then, the classic, she doesn't kill him, the fall kills him, right? Like, she didn't do anything.
Kills him. Angela ambushes Devlin with the fire extinguisher, causing him to fall to his death, which is second-degree murder. In the end, Angela ultimately regains her identity.
Just gonna blame the poor fireman.
Yeah. These were backwards.
And that extinguisher's going to get charged as first-degree murder.
She watches her stuff they get this nice fun transition of flowers.
And is that what it looks like when your
father's
father's
identity, home and life. She reunites with her mother, who still does not remember her. Angela then goes back to her old solitary life. Through a series of news reports, the conspiracy is exposed, and Jeff Gregg is arrested by the FBI. And that is the net, and they end with a little Praetorian symbol to make you think there could be more, which will lead into my movie morsels.
It's all real.
It's all real. It all happened.
Which performance would you guys hold up in this movie?
For me, it was going to be at least Sandra Bullock. She held.
Yeah, I think Sam, as a lead, she's in 97% of the scenes in this movie or something, right? So
yeah,
and she's solid, no issues with her performance. It kind of felt like Devlin, Jeremy Northman. There were parts of his performance that I was like it felt a little inconsistent. I don't mean some decisions about
Spike from Buffy.
He looked a lot like him. I had to think that a couple times too. But it was too early.
Yeah. So I never really watched Buffy, so I wouldn't have made that connection.
Yeah,
Aren't you, Chow?
I like Sandra Bullock's performance. She she played sort of meek, knowledge exhausted really well, and then her sort of I'm just somebody trying to survive to get to that point of all right, I'm tired
She's
of this.
a good actress.
Yeah,
they really owned it.
Well, I think it worked well because they didn't set her up as a helpless shut-in nerd type. They set her up as more a strong independent type who just sort of chose to kind of be that way. It wasn't like she was they didn't do the she removes her glasses and is suddenly beautiful type crap that they do with nerdy girls and a lot of shit. It's just like no, she just chooses to be this way, and she has her shit together. She just kind of does things a little bit differently. And yeah, I mean, I think
people were hitting on her constantly, even from
sometimes
let's go to dinner. No, well, how about dinner? No.
Yeah, and then he dies, and she's like, I don't give a shit about you.
Wait, was that the same guy?
Yeah, it was the guy who died in the plane crash who asked her to dinner a bunch in the opening scene, and she's like,
that was the same guy.
She's like, I have a standing offer, because she goes and
no,
hangs
that
out
wasn't
with
the
her
same
mom.
guy. Are you thinking of Dennis Miller and Ray McKinnon, or is that what you think is the same guy?
Not Dennis Miller.
No, and like when she's on the phone at the beginning, the guy's like, "Hey, how about dinner?" And she's like, "No, thanks. How about dinner tomorrow night, the next night?"
Yeah,
and she
like,
and she says, "I have a standing.
I don't do dinner those nights.
A standing arrangement." She says, and then it kind of cuts to her hanging out with her mom. Yeah, it's that guy who asks her about dinner.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
Well, what about you, Chow? What about your performance that held up this movie?
Dale, he died like a champ in that airplane.
He did.
Yeah. He exploded with the best of them.
How Dale, there it is.
The wide eyes before he. Yeah, there you go. That right there. Performance
there was.
of a lifetime.
That's the performance of the
Nailed
movie
it.
right there.
It's like, dude, we're gonna turn on some bright lights. Look scared.
Yeah. Look how he played those flames.
How he played those flames. Yeah.
The
flames.
Setting aesthetic.
Like I don't know how he didn't see the lights on those towers, but
yeah, like nothing.
The setting and aesthetic, I wouldn't. It's not boring. It's genuine. It's the 90s. It's 95. Like there's nothing about these. Like it could have been brighter in the darker scenes and stuff like that. But like it's.
Yeah, like it's
the lighting in this movie made me feel like it was an 80s movie.
A little bit, yeah. It was that like bridge of like late 80s, early 90s lighting. Not quite a like
they should have known
drama.
better by then.
Not quite a B movie.
No, like I think like the cinematography like holds up fairly well. Like they're it doesn't like
TV movie,
It's not so obvious when it was made, you know what I mean? Like there are some movies where it's like either because of technological advances or like some technique advances where you're like, oh shit, this movie was made in like this 3-year window or something. But this one, other than the sort of the technology like featured in the film, the stuff, how it was presented, I feel like
Mozart's Ghost.
It holds up in that way. Like, it's like, okay, this is like a movie from the 90s, and there are certain aspects of it that it's like, well, it's like maybe, like Gavin said, kind of bland at times, but that's not, like, I sometimes really like movies that are like hyper stylized, and this movie was like the inverse of that. Like, there was not, it was about what was happening to Sandra Bullock's character. It wasn't a artistic piece in sort of any other sense with audio or visual design in any way.
Yeah, no.
I just could have used
surprise, motherfucker.
A little more surprise.
A little more surprise.
Movie morsels for the net 1995. The movie was left a little open-ended, and they tried to capitalize on that open-endedness in 1998.
Net 2? No way.
No. The Net, the American TV series, a 1-season, 22-episode season of The Net based off of the film, the 1995 film.
Happened or was gonna happen?
It's a thing. It's
my god!
No, yeah. There's one season that came out in 1998. There was like 22 episodes. Just had one season. But
Jeremy Renner was in that show. Oh my god!
What?
Wow. I did not know that. I didn't look that much into it. I was just like looking up other things. This isn't the only film called The Net. There's a 1916 film called The Net, a 1923 film called The Net, a 1950
also about the internet
called The Net,
ahead of
a
their time.
1975 film called The Net, and a 2016 film called The Net. None of them are actually about the internet. All of them are various from
about booby traps.
The early ones dealing with like
not even about nets.
infidelity and like relationships. Some of the 2050 ones are about heists and stuff like that. The one that sounded the most interesting, and Davan, you probably would be interested in checking this one. The 2016 film The Net is a South Korean film about a North Korean fisherman who's fishing, and his net gets caught up in his propeller blades, sending him adrift to South Korea, where he's then captured and interrogated to see if he's some sort of like spy for North Korea and stuff like that. And that's what that film's about.
I want to see some dude get tortured to see if he was a spy.
Yeah. Some South Korean propaganda-esque film. So the actual movie morsels for the film, aside from those ones that were titled, Angela's chat room contact Cyber Bob tells her about the Praetorians, an Illuminati-esque group, which he states has an affiliation with Wall Street. In reality, this is the name of an extremely private internet and corporate security company in Texas whose customers actually do include Wall Street. The game that Angela is playing or debugging at the beginning of the movie is the Apple version of Wolfenstein 3D from 1992.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, Stein.
Was it Stein or was it Wolfenstein?
No, it was definitely Wolfenstein.
Was Berenstain Bears or Berenstain Bears?
You know what? Don't get started on the Berenstain Bears because it's not even because it's AI is how it actually is spelled, right?
Yeah, I know. People were just dyslexic and they thought it was
released on the Atari Jaguar and the 3DO. At the beach scene, the book she's reading is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The TV news report about Bergstrom's suicide is presented by...
It's more romantic than cholera. Tell me.
Exactly. Bergstrom's suicide is presented by Daniel Shore, a career journalist who is best known for his years as a reporter for CBS News. 2 years after The Net, he also played a news reporter in The Game, 1997. Also written by John Braccato and Michael Ferris, and 3 years after that in The Siege in 1998. So it's a CBS connection from our last episode about TV. And the final movie morsel, Dr. Champion, I almost said Chaplin, Dr. Champion says that two teenagers broke into an Atlanta computer system to write Braves Suck in 1995. The year this film was released, the Atlanta Braves definitely did not suck. In fact, they won the World Series.
Wow.
Just a spite. Yeah. What a spite. That's a spite
of the film. The film that was released on July 28th, 1995 with a runtime of 115 minutes, a budget of $22 million, and a box office of $110.6 million. This movie was a fucking smash hit in 95.
Wow.
Those were a really long 115 minutes. All right, rewatchability. For me, no. Too long and boring.
I could probably rewatch that again.
I mean, sure, it's like an okay movie, but there's nothing in that movie that I'm like, I want to rewatch that because either I thought it was really cool or I thought it was slick or there's like some detail I want to see if I pick up on. Like there weren't any scenes that made me feel like it was very neutral throughout as far as my kind of emotional state. So yeah, for me, it's like there wouldn't be any reason to rewatch it. There wasn't anything that I'm like, oh shit, that was so cool. It's like, okay, that was one of the movies that was made.
As a technological
likable characters you want to visit
it's
again.
A really good time capsule for like showing technology at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
better than hackers in that regard.
Showed like appropriate hacking and computer operation. It wasn't just like 3D fucking camera mazes.
Yeah. No. I think if you pay attention to like, the strings of text she puts in, like the only one I was able to really pick up on is like, doing like who is commands and stuff. Like, yeah, like she's doing actual DOS commands and not just crazy graphics. Yeah.
I knew the 3D camera mazes weren't going to take off.
Yeah.
I mean, I was intrigued by those.
I don't know when it came out, but like another one that was like really bad was like Lawnmower Man. When did that movie?
Oh yeah, Lawnmower Man might end up on this show at some point too.
That
Johnny
movie's...
Mnemonic, another one. Remember?
Oh yeah. Oh man, Johnny. I love Johnny Mnemonic.
I would have swapped out the net for Johnny Mnemonic.
That's
Oh, is it an internet movie? It's not really an internet movie, Johnny.
No,
The
really.
Matrix? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he goes on the internet.
How about you, Chow? Rewatch this movie?
I'd be okay if I never saw it again.
Yeah.
It just felt like
And the
something
big
I
question.
watched a million times. Like I probably
Yeah.
watched it once when I was little when it first came out, and I thought it was good. So I was pretty excited to rewatch it for this. And kind of like Davan, I felt a little deflated.
You were thinking it was The Fugitive starring Harrison Ford.
Oh God,
Which is basically also this movie. It feels just like this movie.
Well, that's it, right? Yeah, it's a movie about someone who's been wronged and being chased by the wrong people and trying to prove their innocence, right? Like we've seen that movie a bunch of times.
I do like the premise though, because I like to think about what I would have done if this happened to me, and I for sure just would have died.
Yeah, he's still stuck
very early on.
You would have been murdered by the real estate agent in your house and just
like watched your movie.
Be murdered
This
by the
movie was
guy
way
who's
too
not even
long.
trying
I want to
kill
watch
me,
your movie.
It'd be very short.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Or does it hold up for me? No. I was so bored. I thought I was gonna like it. Sandra Bullock and some intrigue and some internet hacking and stuff. But no. I had to try to watch this movie so many times. It's like I say, I was surprised. This was the one I thought I was gonna love.
I'm surprised too. I thought this was gonna be one I fucking hated, and you don't like it. I don't understand. This was a really well balanced film. Maybe apparently it was too balanced. It was too bland.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like it's just there. I could watch 50 other movies that are basically like the same plot, you know, like, and I don't usually watch those movies. So again, for my tastes, yeah, it's one that, I mean, I guess in a way it does hold up because that's, you know, a story that some people find compelling, you know, like average person loses their life and has to get it back. It's basically, you know, there's a whole bunch of like revenge type movies that follow that same premise. Like if she started gung fuing a bunch of people.
This one.
Yeah,
right? We watched the same film in Guns Akimbo, which is, you know, the next film we're going to be watching.
We'll talk about Guns Akimbo here in a second.
We'll talk about Guns Akimbo.
All right. Did we all answer the hold up question?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Out. Yeah.
I
was all
think
no's. No,
I think,
Murphy.
I have to agree with the call. I think it, in a way, it does hold up. I think
so
you could.
Did you guys all switch your votes? Is this 3 hold ups and 1 no hold up?
Yeah, I think it holds up.
Oh wow.
There you go.
Like I said, I don't personally enjoy the movie, but I think it does hold up because the story that it's just one of these like B- movies that, you know, like it you know what I mean? Like where
that's
like,
what it wasn't intending to be.
Right, but I'm not saying it's like a B movie in the way
movie.
we think of B movies, but like in the way that it's, you know, solid but not remarkable in any way. But it's because it's not remarkable that I wouldn't watch it, but it's certainly I can't fault it. It's just not one that, you know, really does anything for me.
What is your wife going to say about your comments here?
Oh, she already knows. She's already threatened various levels of divorce because I don't share her passion for this movie. She actually said, I want them to replace you with me for talking about the net, even though I don't know any of these people except for Andrew.
Like I said, bring her on. You should have brought her on.
Take her in.
Come here.
Well, we've added it to the B movie section. We all said Hackers is not a hold up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's put into
still
the
best
C
of these 3
category.
movies.
Yes, it's the best of these 3 movies, but it doesn't hold up. Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, let's talk about what I think is the best of these 3 movies, surprisingly.
Oh my God.
Over here in Theater 3.